And thanks for staying with Morning Live. Now, Parliament's Power and Privileges Committee has decided to go ahead with its investigation into the conduct of several Economic Freedom Fighters, members of Parliament, who disrupted the State of the Nation address in February this year. Now, the EFF MPs will appear before the committee to be interviewed about their actions, which subsequently led to the delay of the President's address to the nation. The committee met virtually on Tuesday to establish legal avenues to pursue. Now, the chairperson of Parliament's Powers and Privileges Committee, Mapulane, joins us now to talk more about this. Mr. Mapulane, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And good morning to your viewers.
So let's just start with the meeting that was held on Tuesday, that virtual meeting to establish the legal avenues for this particular matter. What did you ultimately resolve?
Well, we resolved to accept the opinion that we were given by Council. After we have requested Council to give us that opinion as early as March, maybe just to give a bit of a background, after the disruptions that happened during the SONA in February, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Thandi Modise, referred the matter to the Powers and Privileges Committee. So we sat for about 2 meetings. We viewed the video recordings, and as a result, there were discussions in the committee. As a result of those discussions, we resolved that we needed to have a legal opinion. Now, there are 2 fundamental points that we wanted the legal opinion to clarify. The first one was whether the committee has got jurisdiction to deal with the matter. This question arises as a result of the divergence of views that were expressed in the meeting. Now, for instance, the members were expressing a view in the meeting that on the day in question, the members of the EFF left on their own. They were not ordered to leave the house by the Speaker. They were not physically removed from the house. So members were not very clear whether the committee has got the jurisdiction to deal with the matter because of the concerns that they were expressing. Now, on this aspect, the opinion came back to say, indeed, the Powers and Privileges Committee has got jurisdiction to deal with the matter, and it must follow a particular procedure prescribed in the Act. That was the first question that had to be clarified by legal counsel. The second question related to whether there was contempt of Parliament the day in question. Now, in respect of this matter, the council indicated that it is premature for both ourselves and council to determine whether there was a contempt of Parliament. What needs to be done is that we have to follow the procedure and apply the principles of audi alteram partem and afford an opportunity to the members after they've been identified to put their side of the story and be heard, after which we'll make a determination whether there was contempt of Parliament. So the Powers and Privileges Committee accepted the opinion as provided by Council and decided that it's going to go ahead with the matter as referred to us.
So when you say, Mr. Mapulane, you're going to go ahead with the matter, what exactly will you be going ahead with? What is the process that will unfold from here on in?
Okay, the next step that we will have to follow is to sit down as a Powers and Privileges Committee, view the video recordings of the day in question, and identify those members who were involved in actions that led to the temporary suspension of the House. And after identifying those members, we will then have to request them to make representations to the committee. And the committee will then have to look at the representation and decide whether to prefer charges or not to prefer charges against them.
So that hasn't been established at this point as to whether charges will be preferred?
Not at the moment, because we had to wait, and I think it's a matter that we did express our unhappiness that we had to wait for about 5 months for us to get that opinion. Now that we have received the opinion, we are ready to proceed. As council has advised, we will have to view the video recordings. We will have to identify the members. We will then have to prefer charges against those members. If after them having made representations to us, we are of the view that there is the case to answer for them, we will prefer the charges and go ahead with the inquiry.
Mr. Mapulane, what does the Power and Privileges Committee want to take this particular act further of the disruption of this year's SONA, given that it's not the first time that there has been a disruption at the State of the Nation address, and also that we see regular disruptions in Parliament of one kind or another? Why then are you preferring to go ahead and perhaps act in this particular instance?
Well, we have got a duty to deal with the matters that have been referred to us. Ever since this committee was established, there were two matters that were referred to us. It was the SONA, the February SONA this year disruption, as well as the disruption during the budget vote speech of Minister Pravin Koda. So we're dealing with these two matters. I cannot, of course, account to what happened in the previous Powers and Privileges Committee because I was not a member. Now, the duty of the Powers and Privileges Committee is to make sure that members of Parliament, in executing their duties, do that in respect of the decorum of the House when they are inside the House, and they don't involve themselves in action that constitute contempt of Parliament, meaning that it is our responsibility to make sure that the proceedings of Parliament run smoothly, they are not interrupted, they are not unhindered by members. In the process of members exercising their freedom of speech inside the House, they have to do it within the confines of the rules. So that is our responsibility. And this matter has been referred to us, and we're proceeding with the matter to make sure that what happened on the day in question, there is some accountability to it, and we'll determine who is, whether there was contempt of Parliament given the activities of the day.
So just, a short, brief explanation of what constitutes decorum in the House. And because I'm just wondering, given when you talk about disruptions, whether you're not going to get yourselves involved in a long, drawn-out discussions about definitions and semantics. Because as someone who watches the parliamentary channel quite often, I'm curious to know what actually constitutes disruption.
Well, disruption arises out of a situation where Parliament is not able, Parliament or any of its committee, is not able to proceed with its business of the day. And that arises as a result of disruption. Now, members of Parliament are free to raise whatever issues that they would want to raise, but they will have to do that within the confines of the rules. There are rules that have been adopted. They are applied to the members. Members know under which circumstances they will have to express their views and so forth. Now, Parliament is it's a house where there must be contestation of ideas. And I think what should prevail in the House must be the superiority of the argument of the members. It must not be how strong, physically strong the members are, how loud they can speak, and so forth. Now, that House is meant for that. And there is no need, therefore, for any person to disrupt the proceedings by repeatedly raising points of order, which sometimes become very frivolous. So that is the distinction between disruption and the decorum of the House. The decorum means that at all times, Parliament must be allowed, members must be able to raise their views. However sharply the members will be raising their views, they must be allowed to raise their views, but do it within the confines of the rules of Parliament.
And as I said, I suspect you're going to be, engaging in long, drawn-out conversations about semantics here, because in terms of frivolous points of order, what is a frivolous point of order? Because we see people rising constantly in the House, to raise a point of order, which to some onlookers may even be deemed frivolous, but we're going to leave that to you. As far as the case in point goes, has the Power and Privileges Committee informed the EFF that they will have to appear before it at this stage?
Not yet. It's a decision that we took on Tuesday. So what will happen is that we will have to schedule a meeting of the Powers and Privileges Committee where all members will have to view the video recordings. And after identifying the members, because it's not everybody, for instance, it's not all members of the EFF on the day in question who were participating in the activities that led to the suspension of the House. So we'll have to identify the members who were participating, and then after which we will then have to afford them an opportunity to make representations to the committee. So that has not happened yet.
What do you mean by participating? Because if the EFF comes in as a block, they sit there, they all stand up, when they are voicing a certain matter. What then do you mean by those who participated?
You remember that members of Parliament must not be treated as a group. They must be treated as members, individual members. So if an individual member stands up and raises a point, and the member is called to order, and then that member continues, and we will have to identify that member as having a case, for instance, to answer in terms of explaining to the Powers and Privileges Committee. We cannot generalize that all members of the EFF, because individual members will rise and will rise on a point of order or whatever points that they are rising on, and those are the members that we will have to identify.
That means you are potentially going to be very busy as a Power and Privileges Committee, Mr. Mapulane, because this sort of thing seems to play out in Parliament all the time.
Yes, I think that we are going to be very busy, especially on this matter. The video recording is quite long. I think it's over an hour. So we will have to be very meticulous in identifying those who were participating on the day. But of course, I think there comes the point where all of us as members of Parliament need to safeguard the integrity of that institution and make sure that that is a forum for the contestation of ideas. It is not a forum where we will go there and we disrupt and we engage in some kind of a brawl inside of the House. So it is the responsibility of this committee to make sure that that happens. As to what happened in the past, I can't really account to it because I was not the chair by then.
So moving ahead, in terms of the powers of this particular committee, what happens in the event that the EFF, for example, refuses to appear before the committee?
Well, members of EFF are members of Parliament, those who were participating on the day, and they are duty-bound to cooperate with the Powers and Privileges Committee. They know that they've taken an oath of office to respect the Constitution of the Republic. They are bound by the rules of the National Assembly. They are bound by the Powers and Privileges Act, and therefore they will have to cooperate. Now, the Act does makes a provision in case where members do not want to cooperate with the committee. There are various options available in the Act, but I think the members of the EFF will be able to cooperate. I'm sure there is no reason for them not to cooperate with the committee.
Well, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much as we wait to see how all of this unfolds. Mr. Phili Mapulane is the chairperson of the Parliament's Power and Privileges Committee, talking to us there about the decision to call EFF members of Parliament who disrupted the 2020 State of the Nation address before them. So that is still to happen, and no doubt we'll keep you up to speed regarding those developments. All right, we are going to take a short